If you're using PayPal, Zelle, or Cash App to move money, whether it's for business or personal, the IRS now wants to know about it in the form of a 1099-K. There's a lot of controversy around this, and there's a ton of confusion. Hi, and welcome back to Stop Being Sold. My name is Michelle. I'm here with Brian, and today we're covering one of the most controversial tax forms in recent years, the 1099-K form. And specifically, we're going to talk about what you need to know if you're using a third-party platform for transactions instead of cash.
Yeah, this is going to be affect most Americans. And while talking about IRS regulations isn't exactly all that fun,
Right.
it's critical we all know what's going on with this. So
Amen.
make sure you stay to the end to find out the most updated information on this new tax form and what your requirements will be for 2023. Again, this is big. If you don't know what's coming, you can't prepare for it.
Yeah, and as we'll get into later in this video, you need to be preparing for this. Otherwise, you're going to have maybe a mound of tax paperwork to go through. So make sure you stay tuned to the very end.
Definitely.
All right. So, Brian, let's back it up a bit and let's start with just defining the 1099-K. What is it and whom does it affect?
Okay, 1099-K form it's also known as the payment card in third-party network transactions.
Easy name.
It's like 1099-K. It's easier. It's an IRS information return used to report certain payment transactions to, quote, see the rabbit ear quote?
Yes.
Voluntary tax compliant, according to IRS. Michelle, everybody thinks this is a new form, but it's actually been around since 2012.
Yeah.
And was for a way for banks and credit card companies to report payments to individuals and to the IRS.
All right. So it's been around a while, but there have been changes and updates in terms of like when it's used and who gets this form, correct?
Yeah. So when Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act in March of 2021, it made a little noticed change in the tax reporting rules that would make it almost impossible for independent contractors and other businesses to hide their income from the IRS by receiving electronic payments. The change forced third-party settlement organizations who issue forms 1099-K to report all transactions that total over $600 starting in 2022. Prior to this, Michelle, third parties were only required to report transactions where gross payments exceeded $20,000 and there were no more than 200 total transactions.
All right, so let's talk about the changes then. So this isn't just, is it just businesses or contractors like gig economy workers that will get this form, or is it also individuals now?
Okay, let's go to the IRS statement. According to IRS, whether you own a business, are self-employed, work in the gig economy, or are selling personal items, Form 1099-K includes the gross amount of all payment transactions. You may receive a Form 1099-K from each payment settlement entity from which you receive payments in settlement of reportable payment transactions. This, from the IRS, could include millions of Americans.
Yep. All right. So I have questions, lots of questions. Question about how let's start with this one. Question about how it applies to people selling personal items. So if I don't own a business and I'm not a contract worker, and say, let's say just I sell a dining room table and chairs for $650 and someone pays me via like Venmo or PayPal. This has to be reported now by PayPal or Venmo. And then I'm going to get the 1099-K form for my taxes and pay taxes on that.
Okay, that is correct. Okay. The payment provider, whoever that may be, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, whoever, they're required to send that out for transactions over $600 for 2023. Okay. Some other examples where you might get this form. Let's say you go and you purchase concert tickets or a ticket to an outdoor event, whatever it may be, like sporting events, and you resell them for a profit. Or let's say you babysit your neighbor's kids on a date night and they send you Zelle payments. Remember that Chase mobile commercial where they kept talking about their mobile app? And how easy it was to pay the daycare lady or the kid next door to watch your kids. So you went out for the evening. Guess what? That's all included now.
And also another example, if, for example, I had a friend that just bought plane tickets for the both of us. I sent her money via whatever payment platform I used. Now that's something that has to be reported.
Yeah, if the payment provider must report it now if it's over $600.
Okay, so what if I don't make a profit on items sold? Will I still get a 1099-K?
Yes,
All right.
you're still going to get it because the transaction was over the $600 limit. It's going to be your responsibility to keep accurate records of your purchases and the sales. So you have to report to IRS.
Okay, more questions. So what if I send money to my brother or a friend? Do you see how I'm trying to get out of this? I'm just kidding.
Everyone, we get in so many questions like this.
Right? Well,
It,
I mean, it's
everyone's concerned. It's like, what do? You got so used to using these apps on a daily basis.
right.
So
I see a paperwork nightmare
that's the
coming on.
importance of this video. And as these rules change, which they very well could be, that's why you still need to hit that subscribe button right now, because you need to stay in tune to what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Good point. Okay. So really, my last question on this is if I send my brother or a friend, like something that's over $600, whether it's a gift or like just a quick personal loan, because they needed to be floated for whatever it is, it all happens to us. What about that?
Supposedly, they're not looking into this as much.
Are you supposedly?
Supposedly.
Uh-huh.
But you should make a note what each payment is for, like borrowed money, share the cost of an event, whatever it may be, because it's going to be up to you to prove these items if asked.
Okay. Okay. All right. So they say they're not looking at everything. So how do you prove it, list this stuff out other than, and make these notes?
Okay. So, for example, I've used Zelle for years. Okay. And send payments out. If I purchase something on like Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and they said, we take Zelle only. Okay, whatever. Okay. Send you a Zelle payment. Okay. So I pick up the item while I'm standing there, send them a Zelle payment. They get it. We're good to go. Right. So what I do inside the Zelle app, there's a little note section.
Sure.
And I'll write down in there, purchase this with this. There's your notes. So each one of your payment apps have little note sections where you can add that to that. And I hate to say it, you almost need like an Excel spreadsheet if you use them like Zelle or Cash App or whatever on a daily basis.
Right.
You better open up an Excel spreadsheet and start keeping track of this stuff.
And I guess that was so one last question on just like how this all plays out. So let's just say, for ease of example here, I did 5 transactions in Zelle last year, or this year, 2023. And they are all over there are 5 of them that are over 600. They all get reported. But let's say 2 of them were what you were talking about, the concert tickets or selling personal items or whatever. The other 3 were like loaning money to a friend or whatever it is. So I'm going to get the 1099 for that 3,000. So the 600 times 5, right?
Right.
But then it's up to me to go to the IRS and say, well, this form is wrong because these 3 items were used for X, Y, and Z.
You got it. And you've got to show proof somehow of, look, this is what this is for. And so keeping good notes.
You talk about government intrusion in your life. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Okay. And now we have to pay taxes on whatever the IRS deems taxable over 600.
That's why you got to keep notes, honestly. Okay. This is a perfect segue into how this affects your 2022 taxes. Okay. The answer is not for 2022. So not yet. Okay. So, and here's why. In December of 2022, Congresswoman Carol Miller, a Republican of West Virginia, and Senator Shelley Moore Capito, also Republican of West Virginia, introduced what's called the Emergency Taxpayer Paperwork and Audit Relief Act.
Okay.
Whew, that's a big one. Their goal with this was to delay the implementation of what they called a Democratic budget gimmick inside the American Rescue Plan for the previous year. Okay. And then the IRS announced a delay of the implementation of the 1099-K recording requirement for that additional year. Okay. They didn't come out with this until December 23rd.
Right? Yeah.
They announced that calendar year 2022 will be treated as a transition year for the reduced reporting threshold of more than $600.
Yeah, that didn't come out till late December, right? Almost right around
December
Christmas.
23rd.
Yeah.
So now, okay, thank goodness, because what if you weren't keeping track of all your stuff for the whole year? And anyways, let's go for calendar year 2022. Third-party settlement organizations who issue 1099Ks are only required to report to transactions where gross payments exceed $20,000 and there are more than 200 transactions. And these payments could come from, like, the PayPal, the Zelle, the Cash App, Venmo, any one of them. So,
all right. So to be crystal clear here, it's 2023 that this goes into effect. And if I sell a personal item in 2023 over 600, or I do any transaction like a business thing, whatever, I get a 1099K and I have to prove that I didn't make a profit if I didn't, or if it's a loan or what have you.
Yeah, basically that is what this says. Starting now, today, keep records of all your transactions, as we still don't know how this will play out. Michelle, this could come down to someone coming in and making a bill or putting a one line item inside of the budget that we're talking about now in Congress that removes.
Yeah, it just says, just kidding.
Just kidding. Sorry. Joke. Take it back. Whatever it may be. We just don't know where this is going to play out. So I would rather you be prepared. That's what I'm doing, because I know I pay with Zelle and PayPal, all that. Yeah. And I don't receive many transactions, but if there's anything that I do, I'm keeping transactions of it. I have to. So.
Right. Well, just when you think they could not tax us anymore, it's like squeezing blood out of a turnip. They do find a way. I have a lot to say on this, but I'm going to bite my tongue and ask the $1 million question here. Is there any way this could be revoked?
Yes. There's definitely proposals in Congress right now to eliminate this completely and continue with the $20,000 threshold from the past. Okay. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel for updates, as this is going to continue. Guaranteed this will continue, because this is a very hotly debated subject. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and we'll keep you info as this unfolds.
All right. And if you want more information on this, we're going to drop a link to some riveting reading on the IRS doc on the 1099K most common asked questions. I'll drop that in the description below. Seriously, I mean, it's worth reading it if you can make sense of it. It is definitely
written by attorneys. Just remember that. So
we really have got to. I mean, you're right. We have to start tracking everything in case this does play out the way it's set to. All right. So if you like the content of this video, if you found it useful, 2 things: like it and send it to someone that you know that can benefit from this information, right? Someone using all these third-party processors. Don't forget to subscribe. As Brian said, we're going to be putting out videos as this unfolds, and might as well, while you're at it, check out that link to the IRS document below. All right, Brian, thank you so much for this. I'm trying to breathe. I'm going to have to go take a long walk. Appreciate all the information, and thanks to everyone who watched.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.